78%, oxygen 20.94%, argon 9.93%. Proportion remain constant up to 90 kilometers. Variable gases: carbon dioxide 0.036 to 0.045%, neon, helium, ozone, and hydrogen. So stable gas is NOAA, nitrogen, oxygen, and argon, and the variable gases is Nikke, neon, helium, ozone, the variable gases. So water vapor and aerosol. So equator water vapor distribution: equator 4 to 5% maximum capacity, poles 0.02%, extreme dry. Aerosols function: hydroscopic nuclei, moisture attracting center. Condensing water, condensing water condition and mechanism. Without aerosol dust, most smoke soot, water vapor cannot condense from raindrops. Vertical architecture, the thermal blueprint. So altitude and the temperature. So troposphere 0 to 8 kilometer weather zone. Normal lapse rate 6.5 centigrade per 100 meter, 1 degree centigrade per 165 meter. Tropopause drop to minus 70 degrees Celsius. Stratosphere 18 to 50 kilometer. Temperature inversion warm up and house ozone and phenomenon nacreous mother of pulse cloud. Mesosphere 5 to 50 to 80 kilometer coldest layer. Mesopause hits minus 80 degrees Celsius, phenomenon noctilucent cloud and burning meteor. Thermosphere 80 kilometer, temperature rise infinitely. Then the chemical stratification and homosphere and heterosphere. So uniform chemical composition encompasses troposphere, stratosphere, and mesosphere. So the cheat code: no hey hi, no hey man. Nitrogen layer 90 to 200 kilometers, oxygen layer 200 to 1100 kilometer, helium 1100 to 3500 kilometer, and hydrogen layer 3500 kilometer. Heterosphere 90 kilometer plus stratosphere by molecular weight. Then the ionosphere and auroras. So D layer, G layer 400 kilometer, and highest layer persist day and night. Then the F layer 150 to 380 kilometers. Platon layer, supreme reflection, medium high, and crucial for GSS demonstrating. F layer 100 to F layer 150 to 150 kilometer, and E layer 100 to 150 kilometer. Can heavy side layer and reflect high frequency wave. G layer 400 kilometer. D layer 80 to 99 kilometer, reflect low frequency wave display at night. Then the aurora mechanism. So the aurora mechanism: solar flares trapped by Earth's magnetic field collide with ions, aurora borealis north and aurora australis south. Then the solar engine isolation metric. So the solar constant 94 Langes, or 2 gram calories per centimeter square per minute. Absolute baseline for incoming energy. Special distribution detector to 330 watts per meter square, and pole 70 watt per meter square. Maximum retreat timeline: so peak June 21st, and location Tropic of Cancer 30 to 40 north latitude. Peak surface temperature lag: max daily temperature 2 to 4 pm, and not at solar known due to the delay in terrestrial long wave radiation release. So the albedo hierarchy: global average Earth total albedo is 35, and Tivarthas scale. So the first phase of 75 to 95%, cumulonimbus count 70 to 80%, desert sand 25 to 30, and forest and crops 10 to 20. Then hex the water angle trap. So vertical sun 90-degree, vertical sun 2% albedo makes observation into vertic zone, and horizontal, so horizontal sun 99% plus albedo act as perfect mirror. The heat budget mechanism. So input solar wave 100 unit, 35 reflected by albedo, by 27 by cloud, 6 by scattering, and 2 by surface. 21%, 51% reaches surface, 34 directly sunlight, and 17 diffuse daylight. Then 14% absorbed by atmospheric gaps and vapor, and then the 17% radiate straight to space, and 34 output long wave 51%, and latent heat, so absorbed by atmosphere 90 by via latent heat, 90 via convection, 6 by direct radiation, convection and direct radiation. Atmospheric mechanism PGF correlates and geostropic flow. Pressure gradient force high to low drives air directly from high pressure to low pressure. Wind speed is directly proportional to PGF. Collier force deflect wind due to earth rotation, northern hemisphere deflect right and southern hemisphere deflect left. So when PGF and Colossus equalize, wind blow and parallel to isobar, the perpendicular at right angle to PGF. PGF, Colossus and isobar wind and S-bar. So global pressure architecture 10.0% low pressure Hadley, then 30 high pressure, and 60 low pressure, and 90 high pressure. So between 0 to 30 Hadley, and between 30 to 60 Farrell Shave. So the 90, so the polar high thermally induced cold dense and descending air, 60 degree subpolar low dynamically induced convergence zone of warm westerly and cold polar air, and cell is the Farrell, and 30 subtropical high, so dynamically induced in descending dry air and clear sky, and anti saturated condition, and equatorial low thermally induced rising air and doldrum, and convection rainfall, and sail is Hadley. Then the tactical film. So then the primarily planetary circulation trade winds flow from subtropic high to equatorial low, named of origin northeast and southeast. Westerlies flow from subtropic high to subpolar low, and polar easterlies cold dry winds flowing from polar to subpolar low, variable and aggressive. So the southern ocean oscillation, lack of land and friction in southern hemisphere create hyper violent westerlies. Memorize this latitude for 40-degree roaring 40s, and 50-degree south for furious 50s, and 60-degree sinking and screaming 60s. So the historical metrics. So nor'wester, so wind nor'wester zonda mistral and valentron bees. Location nor'wester New Zealand, and its trait is warm dry phone trick nn nor'wester New Zealand, and zonda Argentina warm dry zz arzen zen. Mistral France cold katabatic descending kata, Mistral, Minstrel Kata down, Mistral Kata down. Then the Levanter, southern Spain cold east wind, and bees France and Switzerland cold. So Greek compass Boris strong cold and clear. Zeprus west, and Irus east. and Noctis wet and violent south. Then the uh, air mass typology definition: a massive body of air with uniform temperature and humidity horizontally. Latitude original, so polar, continental polar, CP dry continental, and maritime polar, MP cool moist. Tropical continental tropical, city hot and dry desert, and continental tropical maritime tropical empty warm moist, ocean source and high unstable. Arctic Antarctic CA are extreme cold variant. Frontal system mechanism. So the cold air, upward, and warm air, rapid lift and instability. Aggressive cold air wedges under warm air, forcing it rapidly up. Violent short duration storm. Warm front and warm air, gentle lift, and stable condition, retreating cold air. Warm air gently slide up and over a retreating cold air mass, widespread, moderate, continuous rain. Occluded front, warm air and cool air, heck, occlusion, hostage, cut off from ground. Fast cold front completely overtake a warm front, lifting the warm air completely off the ground and surface. Stationary front, cold and mass meet, but neither has strength to move the other. Cold stratification and typology. So the attitude, so stratus below 2 kilometers, uniform gray layer, middle, alto columbus and alto stratus. Alto is not for halos. Then the high cirrus wispy, cirrus, the only cloud that creates solar and lunar halos. Vertical cumulonimbus, towering thunderhead reaching 15 km, intense convection and frontal rain. So, heck, Latin decoder. Zero means higher and high, alto means mid, strato means layer, and cumulo means heap and vertical, nimbus means rain. So the tropical cyclone, so latitude 5 to 20 degree, formation warm ocean, more greater than 26 degrees Celsius, fueled by latent heat, shape and size circular, highly localized, and movement east to west. Then the temperate cyclone, latitude is 35 to 65, and polar, the formation polar front convergence driven by temperature gradient, asymmetrical, elongate massive, widespread area west to east. Local naming hex zero, Corlius rule. So typhoon Japan and China, hurricane USA Atlantic, Willy Willy Australia. So cyclone cannot exist at 0 to 5 equator due to zero spores. The Köppen climate. So the temperature driver capital letter. So A is tropical, all months greater than 18 degrees Celsius temperature. Then B, dry, evaporation greater than precipitation. C, warm temperate subtropical. D, continental and snow forest. E, polar, warmest month, small than 10 degrees Celsius. And ET, tundra, 10 months, lower than 0 degrees Celsius, no trees. Moisture driver, lower case letter. So F, no dry season, wet year round. And M means monsoon, W means winter dry, summer rain, and S means summer dry, winter rain. AW, tropical savanna and tropical temperate winter dry. Tivartha, Thornwett 1948 classification framework. So core philosophy shift focus from pure temperature rainfall to relationship between moisture and availability of plant need. So Primex index 1, moisture index IM, and precipitation effectiveness PE. And primary index 2, thermal efficiency potential evaporation climate type. Key classification target UGC, so savanna climax designation. So represented as CAW in the 1948 system, subhumid megathermal winter dry. Scale synthesis, the hierarchy of anticipation motion. Macro scale global 1000 kilometer. So the planetary engine, permanent wind system, trade winds, westerly and polar easterlies, global pressure belt and Hadley and Ferrell cell. Mesoscale, troposcale 10 to 100 s of kilometer. Secondary seasonal wind, land and sea breeze, thunderstorm, cumulative cell, and mountain and valley breeze. And microscale, local less than 10 kilometer, dust devil, local convection current, small turbulent illies, and highly localized thermal response. Takeaway: global macro patterns dictate the permanent climate boundaries Köppen, and while meso and micro forces detect the daily weather